إن الله ربي وربكم فاعبدوه هذا صراط مستقيم فلما أحس عيسى منهم الكفر قال من أنصاري إلى الله قال الحواريون نحن أنصار الله آمنا بالله واشهد بأننا مسلمون رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي فالحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه ثم أما بعد. Last thing we read was فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَأَطِيعُونَ, obey Allah, be cautious of Allah and obey me. The conversation of Isa alayhi salam continues. Inna Allah Rabbi wa Rabbukum. No doubt Allah is my master and Allah is your master as well. فَاعْبُدُوهُ, then enslave yourselves to Him and worship Him. هَذَا صِرَاطٌ مُسْتَقِيمٌ, that is a straight path. So these ayat again, because they're a conversation with Isa alayhi salam, Allah quotes Isa alayhi salam as declaring the true message that he came with of him and himself, that Allah, he's declaring Allah Azza wa Jalla as his own Rabb and the Rabb of the people as well. فَلَمَّا أَحَسَّ عِيسَى مِنْهُمُ الْكُفْرَ, when Isa alayhi salam sensed, hassa or ahassa actually is to sense something, to sense something. When Isa alayhi salam felt the intensity of disbelief from the people, قَالَ, and by the way, who are the kuffar here? It's the Israelites. It's the rabbis of Bani Israel that he was calling out. قَالَ مَنْ أَنصَارِي إِلَى اللَّهِ, he said, who will be my aid to Allah? My aid to Allah here means, who is going to help me in my mission? The only mission I have is to serve Allah. So it's like a journey to Allah Himself. Whenever I serve the cause of Allah, every step I take, I'm getting closer to Allah Himself. So this mission is not just one that is of importance because it's the path of Allah, but this is the path that leads to Allah Himself. قَالَ الْحَوَارِيُّونَ, the Hawariyun answered. Hawari comes from Hawrun. And some argue that Hawari actually refers to fishermen. It refers to fishermen. And Isa alayhi salam, when he used to give his message, one of the places he used to go and frequent is in Jerusalem by the bank of the river. And there were a lot of, by the lake rather, and there were a lot of fishermen there in that area. And literally Hawari is someone who washes off, meaning washes off stains. So these fishermen and these clothes washers, they used to be at the bank of the river, and you can imagine back in the day, laundry wasn't in machines. It's clothes, you beat them on rocks, and you wash clothes like that, right? So these fishermen and these laundry, like clothes washers. And so he would go to them and say, you've learned how to wash clothes, let me teach you how to wash your hearts, right? And so these were the Hawariyun, a lot of them caught on to the message and started showing an allegiance to Isa alayhi salam. And these were, of course, the lower end of the economic and social spectrum of society, right? So they weren't the influential of society. And so Allah highlights that by the word Ansariyun. They said, we are the aides of Allah. Amanna billahi. We have come to believe in Allah. Washhad bi anna muslimun, and bear witness that we are in fact Muslims. To this day in Christian tradition, the idea of bearing witness or testifying or testimony, right, is still a very powerful, it's twisted now, but it's still there, the idea of testifying or taking the testimony. So they ask Isa alayhi salam to be witness that we have in fact accepted Islam and we've come into submission of Allah. Then they talk to Allah directly. So first they've asked Isa to be a witness for them, and now they understand that they can directly converse with Allah. That's also really important, because if they thought of Isa like the Christian thinks of Isa, the only one they have to talk to is Isa himself. But they immediately turn to Allah also. This is a running theme, isn't it, in this surah? First you talk to a messenger, be he a human or an angel. They tell you something, fine, but then you go and converse with Allah Azza wa Jalla. It's very beautiful that keeps recurring in this surah. So, فَلَمَّا أَحَسَّ عِيسَى مِنْهُمُ الْكُفْرِ قَالَ مَنْ أَنصَارِي إِلَى اللَّهِ قَالَ الْحَوَارِيُّونَ نَحْنُ أَنصَارُ اللَّهِ آمَنَّا بِاللَّهِ وَاشْهَدْ بِأَنَّا مُسْلِمُونَ رَبَّنَا آمَنَّا بِمَا أَنزَلْتَ. Our Master, we have come to believe in what you sent down. وَاتَّبَعْنَا الرَّسُولَ. And we have followed the messenger to the T. We didn't just أطعنا الرسول, we did ittiba'. which means we followed voluntarily, lovingly, passionately. They went out of their way to follow the Messenger ﷺ. فَاكْتُبْنَا مَعَ الشَّاهِدِينَ, then write us among those who bore witness to the truth. So he's making Isa, these Hawariyun are making Isa a witness to their Islam, and then they're making Allah a witness. And he's asking them to write their names as those who bore witness to the truth. فَاكْتُبْنَا مَعَ الشَّاهِدِينَ وَمَكَرُوا وَمَكَرَ اللَّهِ. These kuffar that the Ansar aid is against an opposing force, nusra. Nusra is not just done in times of peace, it's done in times of war. Musa'ada and madad and all these other words for help can happen in times of peace. Nasr is in times of help or war. So there was a real conflict brewing between Isa a.s. and his followers and the rabbis of Bani Israel. And so Allah Azza wa Jal mentions in the next ayah, they were plotting, makaru. You should know that they were living basically in a puppet Jewish government. The Romans had actual control, and they had puppet Jewish kings established in Jerusalem and other places. They actually in the end reported to the Roman authorities. And the plot they had was to get Isa a.s. to say something that'll sound like treason to the Roman king. And that way they can get him in trouble with the Romans. Right? So I'll give you a contemporary version of this. Say something about these Muslim, or this Muslim who's making da'wah, say something about him that makes him seem like a traitor to his country, and that way you can get him arrested and then executed eventually. Sound familiar? Right? So, وَمَكَرُوا. They made their plot. And this was an inside job. In other words, these were fellow believers in Musa alayhi salam that did this. So it's not new. It's not new. It's happened before. Right? وَمَكَرُوا, they plotted. وَمَكَرَ اللَّهُ, and Allah responded with a plot. Makar is used a second time like that, two verbs, وَمَكَرُوا, وَمَكَرَ اللَّهُ. First to imply that there were two different plots. And two, makar in and of itself is usually, it's never used in a positive sense really. It's always only used in a conspiring, conniving sense to deceive the enemy, to make the enemy think they're winning but they're actually heading towards loss, things like that. When there's deception involved in the planning, then the makar is used. Allah says, you want to do that? I'm better at it. وَمَكَرَ اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ. Allah is the best of all who can put a plot together, put a plan together. The plan, now we don't, it should be mentioned that we don't have a direct religious text in the Quran or in the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ explicitly describing the events at the end of Isa alayhi salam's mission. What exactly happened to him, we don't have directly in Quran literature and we don't have directly in Sunnah literature. And the only real account that we have of what Quran describes, Quran has very brief description, right, of what happened. The only thing in Christian tradition that agrees with or seems to fill in the gaps of what is mentioned very briefly in the Quran would probably be the Gospel of Barnabas, which was retrieved from the Pope's library recently. It wasn't known for centuries, but it was only recently brought to light, right? And this Gospel essentially has an account. That's why they consider it an apocryphal text, and they don't really take it as part of the Bible, etc. But it was in the library for centuries and centuries and centuries. And that account, that's the closest to the Islamic version. Allahu A'lam what exactly happened. But that account is that there was one trader among them, among the Hawariyun, and he had reported Isa alayhi salam to the Romans. The Romans said, you all look the same to us, so you need to tell us who he is. So he said, I'm going to go in there, and when I come out with him, I'll call him with, because they're all dressed the same, they're humbly dressed, etc. I'll say, my master, my leader. And whoever I say that to, that's the guy, get him. That'll be the plan. So they get all the way to where Isa alayhi salam was basically conducting a halaq of some sort. He was alone inside Isa alayhi salam. So he goes inside to get him. And when he gets him, 4 angels drop down. That's their account. 4 angels drop down, break the roof and drop down and pick Isa alayhi salam up and fly off. And Allah changes this guy's face to the face of Isa alayhi salam. So he's in shock and he comes back out and some of the Hawariyun see this guy and say, our master. And when they said that, well, then you have Passion of the Christ released, right? So that's basically what that guy went through. That's the account of the Gospel of Barnabas, essentially. Okay. Now, why? That's the closest thing that agrees to what we have. Allahu a'lamu bis-sawab. There's actually a really interesting book written by a sister, Sister Ruqayya Warith Maqsood. I recommend the book, A History of Jesus. It's called The History of Jesus. She used to be a nun, and she was very scholarly in her studies of Catholic tradition and historical accounts of Isa alayhi salam. And when she became a Muslimah, she did a study on Isa alayhi salam from the Christian, the Jewish, the Orientalist, and the Muslim point of view, and compared the accounts. So it's good research on this subject. Once again, I believe it's called A History of Jesus by Ruqayya Warith Maqsood. Anyhow, إِذْ قَالَ اللَّهُ, when Allah Azza wa Jal said, Ya Isa inni mutawaffika, Isa, I am going to take you away. This is the word that's used by the famous group, the Ahmadiyya, also called the Qadianis. They have some different varieties to them. That Isa alayhi salam died. They use the word tawaffa, yatawaffa for the meaning of death. Now, some time ago in this session, I told you waffa yuwaffi tawfiyatan wa wuffiyat kullu nafsin ma kasabat means to be paid in full, to pay someone in full, waffa. To give in full, waffa. To take away, to take in full, tawaffa. So if I'm paying you, I am doing the act of uwaffi, uwaffi. Or waffaytu, the past tense, waffaytu. You're the one taking fully, you're saying tawaffaytu. I took fully. I took the full payment. Okay? Now, Allah says in the next ayah, Ya Isa inni mutawaffika. Isa, I am taking you away fully. I am fully taking you away. Now, in the Quran, the word tawaffa is used when angels take your soul. The angels take the whole soul away. Tawaffatul malaika. Here, Allah also says, Allahu yatawaffa al-anfus hina mawtiha. Allah takes the people away at the time of death. Their nafs is taken away at the time of death. Here Allah says, I am taking you away entirely, implying body and soul. Usually, what's taken away usually? The soul. But Allah takes the entire thing. I'm taking all of you away with me. By implication, when somebody is taken, in English literature also, in other languages also, when someone is taken, it usually implies they died. My parents were taken in a car accident. Or something like that. When people say that kind of thing, what does that mean? That they passed away. Right? That's what that means. Now, the proof in the Quran that tawaffa in and of itself does not mean to die or to give someone death. To die or to give someone death. The proof is in the Quran itself. In Surah An-Nisa, Allah is going to say, حَتَّى يَتَوَفَّاهُنَّ الْمَوْتُ, until death takes them away. The phrase that will come will be, until death, maut, takes them away. The verb used for taking them away is yatawaffa. If yatawaffa itself means death, then you don't need to say maut to give its meaning. The fact that they're put together like that, if you mean tawaffa means dies, it means until death dies. Doesn't make any sense. Or until death gives them death. That doesn't make any sense. Until death takes them away. That's how it's understood. So, and by the way, wafa to be fulfilling of your promises. Ifa, awfa to fulfill your promise. Then wafa to be paid in full, to give in full. Tawaffa to take in full. Istawfa to be want to be paid in full. All of these have to do with giving and taking. That's what they have to do with. So I am taking you away. And what does that mean? Rafi'uka ilayya. I am raising you towards myself. I'm elevating you towards myself. So they added, the Ahmadiyya movement added here, what he means by that is he's going to raise him in terms of his ranks. I'm going to elevate you in ranks towards myself, like figuratively. You'll have very high spiritual standing. The problem is unless you add darajatin, which Allah does. يَرْفَعِ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنْكُمْ وَعَمِلُوا darajatin. Right? Darajat is added. I'll raise you in terms of rank. If you don't add those terms, then rafa'a is to elevate. وَرَفَعْنَا فَوْقَكُمُ الطُّورِ. The mountain of Tur was raised above you. What, in ranks? Like one day you walk by and you say, I really respect you a lot more, Tur. It's not what happened. It was raised. It was elevated. Okay? So, this is, I'm raising you towards me. وَمُطَهِّرُكَ مِنَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. And I am cleansing you from those who disbelieve. I'm taking you completely out of their company. So next time I give you company, it'll be entirely pure. First time around, there was some treachery in that company. Second time around, when he comes back, it's entirely just the core believing group. وَجَاعِلُ الَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوكَ فَوْقَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. And then I am going to place those who followed you above those who've disbelieved. This is a hard part to interpret and translate and discuss. I will place those who have followed you above those who've disbelieved. Some have interpreted this to mean the Christians will be above the Jews. That's how those who followed Isa, meaning the Christians, will have political, military, social superiority over the Jewish community, those who disbelieved in him. And they cite as example the havoc that was wreaked upon Jerusalem by Nebuchadnezzar 70 years after the taking of Isa alayhi salam, and then more recently, even during the Spanish Inquisition, and then later on, more recently, World War II, what happened, right? So they cite that as, the Christians are going to come after the Jews time and time and time again. The problem I have with that understanding is ittaba'a yattabi'u ittiba'. It can be used for negative things too. Yattabi'una shahawat. People follow desires. But when it's attributed to a prophet, in the Quran, essentially it's used for people who follow a prophet the way they're supposed to. I mean, if you say Christians are the ones who follow Isa alayhi salam, the argument is they actually don't. The whole problem is they didn't do ittiba' of Isa alayhi salam. They had love for him, sure, but they did shirk with him, and shirk is the last thing he wanted. And if ittiba' is a state higher than ita'ah, ita'ah is obedience, ittiba' is the highest form of obedience, the last thing they would have done is what they believed. That is the negation of ittiba' of Isa alayhi salam. So then who does this refer to otherwise? What's the secondary opinion? And that's the one I personally find more convincing. When Isa alayhi salam returns, he will have followers, actual followers. And those followers will be placed in a position above those who disbelieve at that time. This is one of the signs of the Day of Judgment, what the Christians call Armageddon, right? One of the final battles on the face of this earth. And Isa alayhi salam will lead on the one hand, and the armies of Kufr and Dajjal will be on the other hand. And Allah Azza wa Jal will give him victory. And that victory will be the decisive one, ila yawmil qiyamati. Ila yawmil qiyamati. And ila here also, because sometimes ila was used in Arabic, approaching. Ila also means, it comes in the meaning of approaching. So it's close to Judgment Day that this will happen. Close to the Day of Resurrection, these events will occur. Ila yawmil qiyamati. Thumma ilayya marji'ukum. Then to me alone will be your final place of return. Marji', by the way, is an ism dharf. Marja'atun, right? So to my place and my time, the return and time of return and place of return is only to me. فَأَحْكُمُ بَيْنَكُمْ. Then I will pass judgment between you. فِيمَا كُنْتُمْ فِيهِ تَخْتَلِفُونَ. In all of the things that you used to disagree with each other in about. فَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. As for those who've disbelieved, فَأُعَذِّبُهُمْ عَذَابًا شَدِيدًا فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. Then those who've disbelieved, meaning disbelieved in Isa alayhi salam, I will ensure that they are punished, that I will torture them an intense torture in this dunya, in this world and the next. وَمَا لَهُم مِّن نَاصِرِينَ. And they will have no aids whatsoever. When we think of Allah punishing people, we usually think of nations being destroyed. But that's not the only thing. Allah can destroy and punish people intensely, personally too, in their personal lives, with sickness, with insanity, with all kinds of grief. Sometimes emotional grief, this is what we learn in psychology, sometimes emotional grief and torment can be far more painful than physical torment, right? And Allah can punish in many ways. For those who disbelieved, those disbelievers in Isa alayhi salam, maybe we don't see that punishment manifest at the collective level, like a flood came and killed everybody there, etc. And even Nebuchadnezzar came like 70 years after Isa alayhi salam was taken. What about those who immediately disbelieved in him? Perhaps Allah punished them in an individual sense. Came after each and every one of them individually. وَمَا لَهُم مِّن نَاصِرِينَ. And they will have no aids whatsoever. وَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. And as for those who truly believed and acted righteously, or did good deeds, the few good deeds, فَيُوَفِّيهِمْ أُجُورَهُمْ. Then He will pay them in full their compensations. Once again the same word. وَاللَّهُ لَا يُحِبُّ الظَّالِمِينَ. And Allah, He does not love the wrongdoers. In other words, wrongdoers get away with doing things in this world. It seems that way. The Muslims being told, look, you'll be paid in full. And it's not that Allah is giving them an extension because He likes them. It's not that you see evil in the world because Allah likes to see evil. That don't be misled like that. ذَلِكَ نَتْلُوهُ عَلَيْكَ مِنَ الْآيَاتِ وَالذِّكْرِ الْحَكِيمِ. Those are what we are, that is all, that stuff is what we are reading onto you, narrating onto you, reciting onto you, from the miraculous signs and the reminder full of wisdom. The wise reminder. This is one of the descriptions of the Quran, al-dhikrul hakim. Beautiful statement. A wise reminder.